Welcome to Lancaster Community Television Station. My name is Ethan. I'm here with the legend, Andre Robinson, JP McCaskey alumni, and Fordham University graduate. How you doing, Andre?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Mr. Ethan, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you this morning.
I totally agree. You're a man who's a father, a husband, involved in his community, and more importantly, you're a productive member of society. Let's start with your education at JP McCaskey High School.
Okay, I graduated back in 1993, dating myself a little bit. Amazing experience at JP, representing as an alumni. I wouldn't change that for anything in the world. Then I went on, fortunately enough, to have an opportunity to graduate from Fordham University in 1997 with a bachelor's degree in psychology.
That sounds really significant because you set the bar for your children that education is the key towards success, growth, opportunities. And you are also a student athlete. Football, track and field, you qualify for districts.
Well, I mean, if I'm going to talk about, back in the day, yes, we, back in the day, 1993, 92, 91, 90, had the pleasure of playing with some amazing athletes, some tremendous teams, especially with track. We did not lose a dual meet. We went on the districts. Our girls won states the one year. Just an amazing experience which helped shape me as an individual as far as hard work. No position, whether you're on a football field or even in track, was guaranteed at that time. It was a high level of competition, and there was a high standard of performance that we all knew, especially those Saturday mornings. Would have been nice if we'd had the Friday night lights. But we didn't. We just did what we did, and that was our attitude. We went out and we left it all on the field. So I think our success kind of speaks for itself, which was a bit of time ago. But I know that there were some quality teams that came after us. But I absolutely believe that the early '90s, that was a special time for JP and football and track. So thank you.
I saw all the other legendary people you played with, and most of those student athletes ended up going to college, further education, now in their position of leadership, giving back how things were invested into them, more importantly, that they wanted success as bad as they wanted to breathe. They wanted as bad as to make sure the next two generations after them don't suffer, but they also set the standard for the next group coming in. We got to keep this winning tradition going on. We have an expectation to keep. And part of the expectation to keep was AFS Day, where there was a big diversity of all these cultures, language, plenty of food. And I remember during my time period, there was AFS Day inside the gym. Everyone had their own concession stands, pictures, and everything was just really artful.
When you presented this opportunity to come and speak with you, I mean, as I'm humbled by the whole thing. I'm going to continue to remind you of that. I don't take anything for granted. And, I was fortunate enough to have all kinds of encounters at sporting events with you and to be able to watch you and your work, on social media. When I saw some of the topics that we were going to talk about, the AFS Day thing was pretty special and unique, especially for those of us that had the honor of even experiencing the multitude of cultures and the melting pot, a true melting pot at McCaskey. What was key for me was that I learned to celebrate our differences, not be fearful of our differences, which I think is now just as important more than ever with the climate of our country. So when I went off to Fordham, which was predominantly Irish Catholic, but I had a sect. I had my football brothers, and then I had my suite mates. In conversations with other secondary education students, they had never experienced anything like AFS Day, and I think that was just a unique and necessary experience that prepared all of us at that time for the rest of the world and how the real world is, and celebrating differences the way that we did. I mean, we celebrated music, food. That's when I had my first gyro. I mean, I was like, what? And then, so to me, that is a special part of how I was shaped, at McCaskey, because I love and enjoy different cultures. So thank you for adding that topic for one of our discussions for today.
Not only learn about diversity, but also learn about other people's experiences, because not one person's life experience is always going to be the same. Everyone has their own reality that they see through different lenses in their eyes and in their hearts. And you have to experience that everyone's different and everyone has a purpose on earth. And for you not only experience that, you also share that knowledge and experience to other people, help them understand that this is what you're going to experience in life and this is the real world. By experiencing it in the gym and on the high school campus, you take away the stigma, take away anything that's possibly negative, but turn it into a positive. It was during a time period where people got together and fellowship together with common goals and beliefs of respect and humanity. And you went to Fordham University. You were the man who went from the big man on campus at JP McCaskey, not necessarily start all over, but enter a new chapter of your life at Fordham University.
Fordham University is in New York. Yes, that is, it's in the north. I was on the Rose Hill campus, which is in the Bronx, and it was a transition. I think no different than any young senior that transitions into the college world. Athletically, especially for football, I was very fortunate to be brought up in a home where it was encouraged to believe in oneself. So for me, I think that I had the right perspective, or I should say healthy perspective, to set myself up to improve. Because you're all right. You start over. You're not necessarily the big man on campus anymore. And that can be, that dynamic can be, a struggle for some. For me, I was excited to have had the opportunity to improve my position in life by furthering my education and just enjoying the opportunity to be a part of college football, which in itself is a unique experience. So to speak to what you're saying, it wasn't as much as an issue for me, because when you play or when you participate in multiple sports, which I'm just going to throw out there, multiple sports, you learn that you're not always going to be the best. There's always going to be someone out there bigger than you, stronger than you, faster than you, and just carrying that humbleness, but also remaining hungry and putting in the work to be the best that you can. Multiple sports is what I learned as I grew up. Even though I'm a football guy, football wasn't the first sport that I played, and it certainly wasn't. So having played those other sports where I wasn't number one, that helped my transition that you're talking about.
I played multiple sports as well: football, track and field, and wrestling. And I know what it means to be humble, because when you take a loss, you actually learn more from your losses than you do from your victories, because now you get to see what you need to improve on and how to do better. So the next time you have that opponent in front of you, you know what to do better and win. And it goes back to film study, putting in extra work, working on the conditioning. And now you got the victory. Now the other person has to learn more from their losses than you do in general. And you have your leadership role where you was involved in the community and coaching football. And coaching football, you not only were experienced in coaching, but you can relate to the student athletes and the families on what it takes to put in the work, put in the dedication, and more importantly, make sure life is outside of football with education.
To be in a position, a leadership position, is to me, I don't think should ever be taken for granted. There's a certain level of humility. My coaching experience, I had the opportunity to coach a bunch of young men, young boys, even girls, because my first coaching position was in basketball at the Y, which, basketball is not my number one sport. But that's one of the sports that I signed my sons up for, and an activity that we were able to do. And so I'll say, anybody can go in and maybe throw in a couple fundamental drills, but also make it fun. And that was my skill set, where they learn, teamwork, working with one another, running around, 5 years old. But it just comes back to having that opportunity to lead and set the example. And when I did coach football, it was part of me to at least instill things that were beyond the football field, to instill certain characteristics, or at least try in part to instill hard work, accountability, and being a good teammate, which hopefully down the line would translate into being a good neighbor and helping a young man learn how to be and to walk beyond just being someone that knocks heads with the opponent and beyond the physical components. Like I said, I take all of that from some of my days that I learned, how to be a young man at McCaskey, how to be a young man even at Lincoln, go Lincoln Lions, where you had to work hard and you were held accountable for your assignments, and your brother next to you had to count on you, and vice versa. So it was a tremendous opportunity to coach other youth in the community, and it kind of goes without saying, as a father, having had the opportunity to have that role with my sons is invaluable, and memories of the times that we've had when I was in that role for them. I wasn't a trophy dad, and they could sit here and they would tell you that I wasn't concerned about them being the best. I was concerned about their attitude, how they approached, and then I just focused on how their bodies moved. That was the blueprint. That was the blueprint that I had, for them. But it was absolutely an amazing journey, part of my journey, part of our journey to have fulfilled that role, because it doesn't always work out that way with some coaches dad coaches that are out there. And some folks that may have youngsters in Little League might know what I'm talking about.
Because I remember when I first met your children, who are now adults, both those guys were tall, athletic, high jumpers, triple jumpers. And David ended up doing a sport you didn't do in high school, which was basketball. And he was a man who was a man among boys on the football field as well. And when I see him lay the wood on somebody, he usually put him out for a play. And then Darien, he would go for the jump balls. And now both of your sons are in college, further in their education, and it's because you instilled in those values and characteristics that here's the blueprint. And it wasn't more of follow my footsteps, more like follow the path that you're destined to follow. And at the same time, you allow your children to be themselves. And it does take humility, because the parenthood plan that we have for our kids may not be always the one they want to agree with. And that's where negotiations have to take place. And maybe tell me about some of your hobbies you're involved with.
Before I get to that, Darien also did a sport that none of us did. Darien did lacrosse his senior year, and phenomenal effort. So, and people were looking at me like, oh my goodness, because Darien was phenomenal at triple jump and long jump, and he was primed his senior year to be a star track athlete for Hempfield. But he chose a different route. He really did. And I was proud of the courage that it took for him to transition to a completely different sport that he had never played ever before. And to me, that he understood. He understood all the lessons that we would go over, and the values, the core values that, I tried to instill, which is to just go out and try something new. And he did it. He was successful. Was he a star for them? No, he didn't have to be. He didn't have to be, but he found some success in challenging himself and stepping outside of his comfort level. He didn't have to be the man. So they both succeeded in sports that I had nothing to do with. Basketball, I played basketball at Lincoln. I didn't go any further than that, but I had a great time. I played some great guys. So to go into hobbies, I really think it's important to maintain one's health, mind, body, and soul. So I still enjoy going into the gym. I still incorporate some of the workouts that I learned while I was at Fordham. I love riding my bike. I invested in a bike about 2 years ago. So I've had the pleasure of doing, the Covered Bridge Classic here that they have in Lancaster County last year, and it was about a 37-mile ride where you go over like 5 different covered bridges. That's what I did when I was a kid, though. I rode my bike. I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have video games, so it's wonderful to be in a place to recapture a hobby that I grew up with, and then to reclaim it, as an adult. Another one of my hobbies is I enjoy using my grill. I'll fire up that grill. Doesn't matter what kind of weather is going on, and if I find a recipe, and I'll just try it. I don't care. There's no fear. But I also read about different techniques, like how to cook meat and all of that. But I absolutely love that. And then to sit down, with my family, and to see the smile on their face, at least they smiled when to my face. No, I enjoy cooking, and I enjoy providing and spending that time of just relaxing with family and friends.
Yeah, some of my hobbies are playing the football, NFL Madden. Last summer, I was playing against some guys who got invited over for a cookout. I'll just simply say I ended up beating everyone in the living room. And eventually I just gave up the controller because I dominated too much. My other hobbies was playing cards, reading about family history, doing the research, and of course learning about health, how to see areas where I need to improve on. And of course I get back to the community with certain kids and student athletes, and that's how we met, at the football, the basketball, and of course the track and field. And speaking of the football and the track and field, you had the honor to see a reflection of both your sons play football and track together. How was that? How was that feeling?
Oh, there are no words to describe having watched both of those young men participate and just be teammates and brothers in the sports world. I mean, brothers in the real world, you would see that their relationship is truly unique. They support one another 100%. Did they start out like that? No, there was also another journey that kind of pointed them in that direction. I'll go back to when I was coaching them in flag football. David was always a bigger kind of kid, very big kid. However, he wasn't necessarily a left and right kind of guy. He was just a straight line, fast kind of bull kind of kid. And Darien was, not as big. He was always slender, but he was flashier because he had the agility to go left and right, and then was just a burner. And then they both would just kind of look at one another and, kind of wish that they had the other's ability. Darien wanted to be bigger. David wanted to be faster and flashier. So helping them navigate and appreciate each other's strength started very, very early. And that has, and they've taken that upon themselves, and they can celebrate one another. And that continued in high school. It could have been very easy for Darien to feel some kind of way because David was a presence. You know, people would always just say, oh, David this, David that, you know, when he jumped 6'4" and high jump, and Darien didn't quite jump, 6'4" just yet, but was, still doing his thing. That can really have an impact on dynamics, between brothers, and a lot of competition between brothers. But what they learned, which was instilled in them when they were younger, was to celebrate one another, celebrate what each one brought to the table. Because they are both kings in their own light, and they picked up on it and they learned it. And I admire their relationship on and off the field. So when having watched them compete together, there are no words. I wish there were. There aren't any words to describe that. Any father that is a sports guy, that's a dream come true. It was a dream come true. And then their success was a reflection of their hard work, and that is what I'm proud of. Because most folks, they see the end result, and they're like, oh, you're a proud dad. I'm like, yes, but I understand with some of that success comes with, a little bit of luck, because somebody's always bigger, stronger, faster than you, and a little bit of opportunity. You have to have the coach that puts you in the right position, and there's just a lot of things that you cannot control, but they absolutely put in the hard work, and then it paid off for them. And that is what I'm most proud of, and their relationship and how they lift one another is, I can almost get emotional even just thinking about it. Because now, even though David jumped 6'4" in high school officially, he'll tell you that David can outjump him in like, because Darien's hops are insane. But that just shows that they lifted one another, and they were just two peas in a pod, as it should be.
Yeah, I remember when they both were jumping, and I was in the measurements, and I'm like, these guys got the track meet already. The long jumping, the triple jumping, then the high jumping. And, those guys not only work together, and it's true they celebrate each other's success because it was about the best interest of the team, not the individual. And they probably saw it as when one brother wins, they both win. And then at the same time, you're right there looking at them, not getting in the way of the coaches. You look at them and say, you go out there and do your thing. And, you were always in the back just observing, and didn't have to yell at the coaches, didn't have to yell at your sons. You let them do their thing, and you allow them to be themselves wholeheartedly. And when I see David now, he got bigger, and he's a Division I star at Temple University. Then I see Darien, he's a Division I star at Shippensburg University. And all that success that they have started with the support of their family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we all at some point on our journey need to be uplifted. I mean, we've heard the saying, it takes a village. And that village starts in your home. And we were tremendously blessed with, families, their families, that we all just had a role in supporting them, no matter what it was, and supporting their journey, and letting them know that it's okay, number one, after a loss, or maybe they didn't go out and perform the way that they wanted to, but constant, endless, unbiased support, but not that phony support either, because you have some folks that are trophy parents. That's David's phrase, trophy parents, and you're correct. So I thank you that you saw that. I was very careful to just kind of stay back and kind of let things play out. It's not my role to talk to their coaches. It's their role to perform to their level and meet their potential, And it's my role to support all of that. It's not my role to try to be their coach. I was their coach when, back in the day. But as I stated before, it wasn't just for the X's and O's or trying to have them to be the best player out on the field. So support of your family is crucial, I think, for most of us. And no matter what your family looks like, whether that's friends or biological family or a community, we can all use a little bit of support.
Yeah, support is key to anybody's success. They always say behind a man's success is the woman who's his backbone, or sometimes it's the other way around, where the dad's the stay-at-home parent and the woman's taking on corporate America. But when there's that happy medium where both parents are working and taking care of their kids and also having support with childcare, a good school district, and any activities they want to be involved with, that support is key towards not only growing and succeeding in life, but more importantly, creating a legacy that you can reflect on in those Kodak moments of pictures. And for you, you have settled down as both a husband and a father, and you're a man who has the integrity to say you're proud that you have a happy medium.
Yes, and I was excited for this topic to come up as well. If we go back in time, just real briefly, I grew up in Lancaster City. I grew up in a single-parent household. My father was a good man, so it's no slight on him whatsoever. In fact, his role, he inspired me as well, just as much as my mother inspired me and impacted me. But having said that, I always, for a very long time, wanted to be a father. I always wanted to be a husband. And we can always want things, but we're not always necessarily given the roadmap, because that looks different for everybody. And I'm humbled by my roadmap, but it started there for me as a young man. So way before I was even presented with the blessing of being a father and presented with the blessing of having a wife or someone that would choose to spend their journey with me, because I don't think life is easy by any means. And I was asked a question the other day, how do you know it's the right one? And I'm like, well, that's different for everybody. But how I reframed it and what I did for myself was, I didn't necessarily focus on, I need to find the right one, I need to have the right one needs to come in my life or anything like that. There comes a point in time where you have to focus on you being the right one. And then when you are the right one, and I'm speaking for myself, I'm saying you, then that attracts a certain vibe, the light that you give off. And then the other part is timing. So for me, when I talk about being a husband, that was one of the most ultimate humbling experiences, because my wife, she's not the biological mother of the boys. So I think that is unique for someone to say, hey, you know what? I see you for who you are, and you and I can share a journey no matter what you, and not only that, to see the family that you had before you met them and say, I'm blessed to have them in my life as well. That for me was the end game. So it has been an absolutely amazing journey for me, having come from a single parent household and then ultimately ending up where I am now, which afforded me an opportunity just to show another phase, another role, another hat, for the boys, as well as living out my dream, not someone else's dream, my dream, which is now a shared dream, which I will say is our dream. My wife, because I know we're talking about myself and the boys, I'm not so sure if we had an opportunity to ever really talk about her, Erin. She was an All-American in volleyball at the collegiate level. Yeah, at the collegiate level. So it was an amazing union for us, for someone that had similar core values in terms of hard work, being accountable, and doing what it takes to reach your potential, and then ultimately being on a team, because that is what we do. We work as a team, and that means sometimes I may have a role in one area and she may have a role in another area, and then we just make it work, just as teams do, to win, and whatever winning looks like in life. But for us, we want to maintain a healthy, safe, and nurturing home, which we've been able to do that, for the boys and our beautiful daughter, Davy.
That's very inspiring, because I grew up in a single-parent household of 5, and the blueprint wasn't always given to me as well. But what I saw is different family members in my neighborhoods back in Coatesville and here in Lancaster that, regardless of being in a single-parent household, you can find the love of your life. You can succeed in college. You can succeed in sports and not use that as an excuse. Because out of all my siblings, including 3 other siblings, which is a grand total of 8, I'm the first to graduate from a community college and soon to be graduating from Millsville University. And I feel honored that I've overcame a lot of things to get there, but there was also support behind the background. But you're definitely right, because people always talking about, find the right one, but when you create yourself to be the one, now you attract someone on your level in the same capacity. Because now both your cups are full and they're not half empty. And when you find that person, you got to really face things on a priority level, differences, but more importantly, show us that open communication. And don't let the outside world into your relationship and into your home, because now they have an opinion. Now, I do understand there's certain laws in place to protect the best interests of a child. But as long as 2 people are willing to do the work and let things come together in unity in the best interest of the household, the marriage, and the family, then things will be succeeding in the right direction. Hey, Andre, this is an honor interviewing you as a J.P. McCaskey alumni, Fordham University, a father, a husband. You shared some good gems about relationships, and I appreciate that.
I'm going to kick it back to you, young brother. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. We always talk about some amazing things. Did not hesitate when I was humbly presented with this opportunity, and I want to say, I want to thank you genuinely, and also at the same time, support you. In a natural state, I probably wouldn't put myself out there like this, because I like to just play the black background. But this has been it's been wonderful to sit down with you this morning and just chit chat. And congratulations on the things that you have overcome, and congratulations on your journey and the path that you have set for yourself. I'm proud of you, and I'm sure the community is proud of you. And it's awesome that you're giving all these shout outs to student athletes and other members of the community. So kudos to you, and thank you for having me. For real.
My name is Ethan, and thanks for viewing this interview on Lancaster Community Television Station with this interview with Andre Robinson. Thank you.